You just made a financial decision. Maybe you kept a subscription you never use. Maybe you stayed in a job that drains you. Maybe you paid more for something simply because it came in a fancier box. You didn't think much of it. You moved on. But your brain just made a mistake it will never admit to you, and it's costing you more than you know. This isn't about being bad with money. It isn't about being irrational or reckless. The people who fall for this are doctors, engineers, professors, and CEOs. The smarter you think you are, the harder it hits. Because the mistake isn't made by the careless part of your brain. It's made by the part that thinks it's being careful. It has a name. Psychologists call it the sunk cost fallacy. But that name makes it sound distant, academic, like a trap for someone else. The truth is simpler and far more uncomfortable. Your brain is wired right now to throw good money after bad, to stay too long, to keep going when stopping is the only logical move. And it does it while making you feel like you're being responsible. Here's what's actually happening inside your skull. In the late 1970s, two researchers were quietly dismantling one of the most stubborn assumptions in all of economics. The assumption was that humans are rational, that when we make choices, we weigh outcomes, calculate value, and act in our own best interest. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky ran study after study, watching people make decisions, and what they found was not a rational creature. What they found was a creature in constant, invisible pain. Losses hurt roughly twice as much as equivalent gains feel good. That's not a metaphor. It's a measurable psychological asymmetry they called loss aversion, and it sits at the root of almost every financial mistake you will ever make. Losing $100 produces twice the emotional impact of gaining $100. So your brain, desperate to avoid that pain, keeps chasing the lost thing instead of cutting it loose. Think about what this means in practice. You buy a concert ticket for $80. The night of the show, you feel sick. The weather is miserable. Getting there will take an hour each way. Rationally, the $80 is gone. Whether you go or not, you don't get it back. The only real question is whether tonight, feeling awful, in bad weather, after a long commute, is a good night to see a concert. The answer is almost certainly no, but you go anyway. Because your brain cannot let go of that $80, even though the $80 has already let go of you. This is the sunk cost fallacy in its simplest form. Resources already spent, money already gone, time already lost, that are logically irrelevant to your current decision, but emotionally feel like the most important factor in the room. Now scale that up. In 1985, Barry Staw and Ha Hoang studied NBA teams over multiple seasons. They wanted to know whether teams played their best players or their most expensive players. The answer was stark. Players who had been drafted in higher rounds, who had bigger contracts, players in whom the team had already invested more, received significantly more playing time than their actual performance justified. The coaches and managers weren't stupid. They were human. The more you invest in something, the harder it becomes to walk away, even when the evidence tells you to. This plays out in your life in ways you may not have put together yet. You stay in a degree program you've grown to despise because you've already completed 3 years. You hold a stock that keeps dropping because you remember what you paid for it. You finish the terrible book, sit through the bad movie, eat the rest of the overpriced meal, even when you're full. In each case, the decision you make is shaped not by what will happen next, but by what already happened, by money and time and energy that are already gone and that no future decision can ever recover. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing what it evolved to do. In a world of scarce resources, where food and shelter and tools were hard to come by, abandoning an investment too quickly could be fatal. Persistence was survival. The psychology that kept your ancestors hunting the same trail for the 3rd day in a row, refusing to give up on a food source, was adaptive. It worked. For 10,000 years, it worked. And now it makes you pay for a gym membership you haven't used since February. The modern world moved faster than evolution did. In 2008, Christopher Olivola and Eldar Shafir ran a series of experiments examining what they called the martyrdom effect. They found that when people had already suffered, already paid some cost, they were more likely to keep going even when stopping was the better option. Suffering itself became justification for more suffering. The pain you already felt made future pain feel acceptable, even necessary. This is why people say things like, "I've come too far to stop now." That sentence is not a plan. It is a symptom. Notice how often that sentence has shaped your life. The sunk cost fallacy doesn't just cost you money, it costs you time, which is the one resource that genuinely cannot be recovered. Every hour you spend in the wrong job because of the years you already gave it is an hour you are not spending building something better. Every month you stay in a city that doesn't fit you because your lease is almost up, because you already moved all your stuff, because you already told everyone you were going, is a month that belongs to a decision you made in the past, not the life you're actually trying to build. Economists call this opportunity cost. Every choice to stay is simultaneously a choice not to go. But the sunk cost fallacy makes your brain blind to what staying is costing you in real time, because it's too focused on what leaving would mean for what you've already spent. Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2017 for his work on behavioral economics, spent decades documenting the gap between how humans are supposed to make decisions and how they actually make them. One of his most important insights was about mental accounting. Your brain doesn't treat money as fungible. It doesn't see all dollars as equal. It creates invisible mental buckets and moves money between them in ways that make no mathematical sense but feel emotionally coherent. The $100 you spent on the ticket lives in a mental account labeled this experience, and your brain will not close that account without getting something back from it. So it sends you to the concert sick and exhausted to collect a return that was never available. Understanding this doesn't fix it automatically. Knowing the name of the trap doesn't spring it open, but it does give you a question you can ask yourself in the moment. And the question is this: if you hadn't already spent anything, if you were starting from zero right now, would you choose this? Would you choose this job? Would you choose this relationship? Would you buy this stock at its current price? Would you sign up for this project, take this course, stay in this city? If the answer is no, then everything you are feeling that makes you want to stay is the sunk cost fallacy talking. It is not reason. It is not wisdom. It is your brain trying to protect you from a loss that has already happened. The most expensive thing your mind does is refuse to let the past be the past. And here's the part that makes this genuinely strange. When you finally do walk away, when you quit the bad investment, leave the job, close the account, you almost always feel relief. Not just immediately, but retrospectively. People who escape sunk cost traps routinely report that they wish they had done it sooner. The pain of leaving, which loomed so large while you were staying, turns out to be far smaller than the pain of having stayed. And your brain was protecting you from a feeling that was less terrible than the one you were already living with. This is the most important thing Kahneman and Tversky's work revealed. Not just that humans are irrational, but that we are irrational in predictable ways. We are not random. We are systematically biased, and the biases run deepest around loss. Which means that in any situation where you feel a powerful pull to stay, to keep going, to not waste what you've already put in, that feeling itself is evidence that you should stop and ask the question again. The money is gone. The time is gone. The only thing that is not gone is the next decision. Tonight, tomorrow, next week, your brain will try to protect an investment that no longer exists. It will frame quitting as failure and staying as loyalty. It will make walking away feel like waste. And it will do all of this quietly in the background before you even realize a decision is being made. The $1,000 mistake your mind makes without telling you is not a single moment. It is a pattern. It is every time you let yesterday's spending determine today's direction. And the strangest thing of all is this: the moment you can clearly see the trap, you're already standing just outside it. The question is whether you will step back in because the money you spend on it makes you feel like you should.